Hello everyone, Mr. Nacho here, and today I wanted to share with you all of the information that I could find on the upcoming DLC. I took this information from various different sources, from forums, from some articles, from the official announcements, and those unofficial ones as well. So if you don't want to spoil anything for yourself, what's about to come in the new DLC, then you are better off just not watching this video. If you are interested, then let's just get right into it. Alright, so what we know for sure is that there will be a second DLC for Remnant 2 called the Forgotten Kingdom, and it will release on April 23rd. It will be a paid DLC, so you'll have to buy it. However, if someone else already owns it, then you can play it with them for the story. You don't really need to buy it to play it, but you need to buy it to be able to access the content that comes with it in terms of items, new weapons, new archetype, and so on. So the first and most important thing about the DLC is that it will expand on the lore of Yeisha. We'll be going back to Yeisha yet again. I love Yeisha, so for me it's great. It will add new types of enemies, and it will also add at least 3 new ranged weapons, which one of them basically looks like a swollen merciless. I love the design. I think that it looks great. We'll have to see how it plays. The next one is a 3-shot crossbow that's called Trinity, which is more than likely not the spiritual successor to the Devastator. The Devastator itself may or may not be added at a later date to the game itself. So it was heavily hinted and teased that it will be added, but there is no confirmation as of now. So we can expect 2 new crossbows in the near future. And there is one new long gun from the promotional materials that resembles, at least to me, the Eye of the Storm from the first game. Again, I think that it looks great. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays, but I am very hopeful. There will for sure as well be one new melee weapon that will be a staff. I'm not very hyped about staffs because I don't really like their moveset, and most importantly, a new archetype. The new archetype's name is the Invoker, and one of the things that the Invoker is gonna do is it will be able to manipulate skills. So the example that was given quite often is that if you use the Invoker and you use the Hyperconductor Amulet, then you can have up to 6 charges of skills like Quick Draw or the Wormhole or something like this. So having 6 charges of an ability is an extremely fun way to play. I can't wait to see what else it can do. More info on the Invoker will be released next week, at least based on the communication that we have received. What's more is on the promotional materials, we can clearly see 2 characters. One of them being the new archetype with new armor set carrying the new long gun, but behind it, the mask is actually quite different than the one that the main character is wearing. So I suppose this would be the main antagonist and the final boss of the DLC. We have also seen 2 new bosses in the promotional materials. One was in the trailer itself, which basically looks like a Anne that was made of stone. Other than that, there will be one more boss that was shared on the PCGamer.com, and I will link the article below as well. He basically just looks like a big pot. I believe that his name is Kiln, but don't quote me on this one. And well, it just looks like a fun boss fight. We'll have to see how it plays. With the previous DLC, we have received the new concoction called the Meat Shake, and we will most likely receive a new one with this DLC as well. We are not entirely sure what it does or what it's called, but I could most certainly have some eggnog right now. We'll just have to see what it does. And now for some more concrete information, there will be a change to the traits. Mainly Swiftness and Wayfarer will be combined into one trait. So you will receive the increased movement speed and traversal speed as one trait, which is absolutely great because no one was really using Wayfarer, and Swiftness was great anyway, and now it will be even better. So I think that I'll try to fit it into all of my builds. The Amplitude and Resonance are getting combined as well because they were not really very easy to understand and what affects what, and sometimes it was very inconsistent. So the easiest and best solution in this case would be to just combine them, which I'm a huge fan of. There will be also new traits that one will be basically like triage, but it will affect lifesteal, and there For now, there are no traits that can affect lifesteal. None of the healing ones actually affected, other than the Siphoner, obviously. So if you want to make a lifesteal build, then this will be a huge help. And the next trait that we will receive is a mod duration trait. So for anyone that uses mods like the Firestorm or like the Nebula or basically anything else that can benefit heavily from mod duration, then you should be happy to hear that there will be a trait specifically for that. And also 2 more traits will be added. One would be the Stagger Resistance and the other one would be the Stagger Damage. I'm not entirely sure how the Stagger Resistance would work, but I just assume that you will be able to power armor through some of the attacks and not be disturbed, like whenever you are trying to pick someone up and the boss hits you, then you stop rezzing the ally and so on and so forth. So I'm just curious how much of Stagger Resistance you can actually have. This would be great to actually be able to use some of the melee weapons against bosses and not have to go for Steadfast, which is a mutator that lets you just power through any incoming attacks and never be staggered as long as you are swinging your sword or just doing a melee attack, charged melee attack. So I would actually very much welcome some change in the melee meta because Steadfast was way too powerful for now, and getting the Stagger Resistance from some other sources would be a huge help. And also there will be some stagger damage, so it will be more easy for you to stagger the enemies whenever you are attacking them to prevent them from taking any action like dodging or coming near you or attacking or whatever. This is a very, very nice thing as well. I'm just curious about the exact values that there will be, because there are already some ways that we can increase the stagger damage. I'm just not sure how useful it will be, but a lot of the things that are already in the game, like a ton of the rings, amulet, mutators, and basic guns, long guns, and everything else, will actually receive an update. The DLC update that we will receive on the 23rd of April is going to be huge, not only for the DLC itself, but also for the base game. A ton of things will be changed. Something that we know for sure as well is that there will be a new mutator called Pressure Point, which what it does is it increases ranged and mod damage by a given value to enemies within 10 meters. So it will be huge whenever you are trying to play something that is a close quarters build, like a shotgun, let's say Bulldog or whatever else. And a level 10 trait of this mutator says that activating this weapon's mod triggers a fixed 10-meter blast, dealing some damage per 100 mod power spent, and it also inflicts 1.5 times the stagger damage. So we don't really have any close quarters mutators for now, and I'm very happy to see this as an addition because I actually love playing with shotguns. I think that they are in a quite weak state at the moment, but hopefully this will change. And since this mutator both increases the ranged and mod damage, whenever you use something like the elemental ammo, it should in theory increase both. It should like double dip and increase the damage twofold, because the ranged damage increases the damage that you deal with the elemental ammo, but it's also a mod, so it should increase it as well. So I believe that this would be great, and it might be one of the best new mutators. The next mutator that you can expect is the one that applies burn on crits or weak spot hits, just the same as we have the twisting wounds, or the one that applies corroded. We'll receive one now that applies burn, and logically we should receive one that applies overloaded with the third DLC, but let's not go there yet. I think that it will be great. It will just allow us to make builds that are more varied. I'm just curious what the secondary effect of it will be, because for the twisting wounds you receive 20% ranged damage, for the fetid wounds you get a crit chance. So I'm really curious to see what will be the bonus for the fire mutator, but we'll just have to wait and see for the reveals that will start happening next week. Also, if we can speculate a bit on how the DLC is going to be released, it will probably as well be in the same way that the One True King DLC was released. So it will be a one-shot first, and then it will just be integrated into the full story. So the best thing to do if you want to keep rerunning the new content only would be to rip a save file whenever you receive the option to go through the DLC, and then whenever you complete it, then just replace the save file and then go through the one shot again and again and again, so that you can experience new content only until you are sick of it, and then you can just go back to playing the game normally and just integrate the new content into the old content that we already know and love. In the previous DLC we also received the increase to our trade points. So I assume that we will receive one right now as well, since there is actually quite a lot of trades that we can choose and they will be adding new ones. So it would only make sense to give us even more trade points. And even if you don't own the DLC, there will be new items added into the game that will be able to spawn in the Nerud or in Yesha or wherever else. That will be just an update to the base game. You don't really have to own the DLC for it. Like for example, the Atari booster that you could pick up whenever the OTK DLC dropped. You could find it in Nerud, I believe, and you could just use it even if you don't own the DLC. So there will still be a reason to play through the old content and get some of the new items that will be scattered around the world. All right, what would be the best thing for you to do to prepare for the DLC? Well, my recommendation would be to, first of all, if you are on PC, you could go and grab a hatchery or an asylum save because they give the best EXP. And whenever you unlock the new archetype, just go with the regular XP buffs. So you would want the Sage Ring, you would want the Scholar trait, you would want the Tonic from Madtooth that gives you bonus XP. And obviously you would want to play on Apocalypse because it also gives you even more XP. So if you just keep repeating hatchery or asylum, then you'll be able to level up your archetype the fastest. The next best thing would be to make sure that you own and you have picked up a hyperconductor because it's rumored or it's actually confirmed to have some fun interactions with the new archetype. So it might be worth grabbing. Try to complete your collection of items, or if not complete, then just grab as many as you can because a lot of them will be getting changes and they will be basically like semi-new items. So we'll be able to make builds with them. Some of them might get some actual use with the new items coming in, so you never know what you're gonna need. The more items that you have, the more varied builds and more specialized builds you can make. Also, whenever you are running the new DLC, I would recommend trying to fit an Explorer as a secondary class so that you can use the Fortune Hunter ability, which increases the Explorer's treasure sense to reveal special items within 40 meters for all allies, and it lasts a minute. So for a minute, you will be able to see all of the chests and items through the walls, which is extremely important and very, very useful whenever you think that you have explored an area in its entirety. You can just pop it. You can see if you have missed something, if there is something behind like a hidden wall or whatever, then this will be a great way to find some secrets and all of the items that you might have missed. And the last thing to prepare for the DLC would be obviously to farm as much corrupted luminite, simulacrums and whatnot, just so you're able to upgrade all of the new weapons, all of the new mutators, and actually be able to use them whenever you unlock them. There will be quite a few new mutators added, so you'll need a lot of corrupted luminite, and by far the best way to farm corrupted luminite is to find the One True King story, run up to the first aberration, which is like the preacher that stands on a platform and talks to the people below, and whenever you just defeat him, just grab the corrupted luminite, reset the adventure, and just keep repeating so that you can actually farm a lot of corrupted luminite this way. Alright, so this would be all when it comes to the news on the DLC. This is what we know so far. If there are any things that I have missed and that you know of, please let me know in the comments below. We'll try to aggregate all of the info and keep it in here so that we can actually stay up to date. I cannot wait for the DLC to release. I can't wait to actually learn what the abilities and traits and whatnot